new. I see some new faces out there, but we hold meetings. We try to, our focus right now is bringing our Senate candidates. So we've had 3 Senate candidates at our meetings to let our people get to know these people that are running for Senate to replace Newaygo. We do any number of things. We're doing this right now. We've hosted movies. So our website is newaygogressroots.com, and we welcome you to go check out our website. We've got an events page, so we put anything that's applicable to the Republican Party. We put it up on that website. So that's us. In a nutshell. It's not a very good introduction, but I just wanted to welcome you guys all. Thank you for crawling out of your beds like I did this morning and coming in here to listen. And thank you, Jimmy, wherever he is. There he is. Thank you, Jimmy, for opening up. And I want to thank Karla for driving all the way up here because she's in Kent County. So I'm just gonna hand it over to Karla and let her get going. I don't need to talk. So Karla Wagner with Axe My Tax, she's gonna explain how we take our property back. So give it up.
Hi folks, thanks so much for coming here and giving me this opportunity to explain to you about Axe My Tax. We are a very, very, very small organization. I'm the founder. And we started about 3 years ago. If anybody remembers the Ryan Kelly campaign, I was the one that told Ryan Kelly he needed to start talking about eliminating property tax and not income tax. Everybody all of the other gubernatorial candidates wanted to eliminate income tax, and I said, Ryan, it's got to be property tax. It's got to be property tax. Why? Because they're taking our land. Okay, so I've been blessed to do many things in my life. So I have a real estate license. I sell real estate. I develop land. I have a builder's license. I was a fully uniformed volunteer officer with Kent County for 6 years, so I love my police. I'm not going to defund the police and fire like everybody thinks I'm going to do. I would never do that because I think they are essential services. I ran a horse facility for a while. I've built some commercial buildings. I now own a little breakfast and lunch eatery in Rockford and attached to a little antique store. So that's kind of like a Cracker Barrel on steroids. But I have always done my own bookkeeping. I prepared income tax returns for 12 years as well. So one thing that all of those positions have in common is numbers. Numbers, budgets, making deals with real estate, selling lots, but developing land, this, that, whatever else. So I'm kind of a very budget and detailed numbered kind of a person. And I kept, when you're a small business owner, you're just getting through life. It's 24/7, 365, and you don't really have time to stop and see what's going on. And I am not a politician. I'm not a public speaker, so forgive me maybe for at least the public speaker part of that. But as I saw what was happening in the state of Michigan, and not only the state of Michigan, but the United States and the world, it was like, wait a minute, we got to do something about this. What is going on? What is happening? It's 2024 for now, right? But it was 2020 when I started with the campaigns, the gubernatorial campaigns. I'm like, what the world is going on? This is nuts. This is crazy. What I really started noticing was the fact that it seemed like property taxes have just been exploding. Property taxes are exploding. Property values, right? I'm a real estate agent, so guess what? I've had people that want to pay $30,000 and $40,000 over list price to get a house, and I'm like, I can't advise you to do that. I will do what you tell me to do because I'm your real estate agent, but I cannot advise you to do that because real soon you're going to be upside down in a heartbeat, and the bank's going to call your note in, and you're going to be homeless. So all of these things started happening, and I was noticing, like, think I've sold a house to anyone under 35 in over 5 years. What the heck? What's going on there, right? You guys those people don't even dream of owning a home anymore. And it's not, and I saw in 2008 and 2009, we lost a lot of our building trade, right? That was kind of like that semi-little recession, depression, whatever they wanted to call it, 2008, 2009. We lost so many people out of the building industry, and now they're all kind of wondering where all of our inventory went. I'm like, you don't make that up in a day. I tell you that. You know, I started developing a piece of property in Georgetown Township in 2012, and I was the first developer that our bank had lent money to develop, and that took 4 years, from 2008 entering into that recession until 2012. And I'll tell you what, I had to give them my firstborn to secure that loan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, please. I worked at the bank. I worked at the bank at that time, and I really had to convince them, you need to let me do this, right? It'll be fine. There's no inventory. So we know that now, right? We're hearing everywhere about affordable housing. Okay? All right, so that's something else I'm going to go back and talk about. We're here today to talk about property taxes, why we should eliminate them, and how it can be done. And I think people are very, very skeptical when I start talking about I want to eliminate property tax, because they're like, oh, number one, they think, well, that'll never happen, because as most of us are Republicans or conservatives, we don't have the majority in the House, right? So people go, well, we don't have the majority in the House, that'll never happen. This does not need to go through the House. This does not need to go past the governor. This is totally in the hands of we the people. We're the ones paying the taxes, right? But if we get enough signatures to get on the ballot, and if we get enough people to go and vote, we can totally eliminate property tax. It's that easy. It's that easy, folks. And if we don't do it, we have no one to blame but ourselves. We need 600,000 signatures in 180 days. Can we get that? Who can help us get that, right? Because everywhere I've gone, I think I've visited over 65 counties so far. There's 83 counties in Michigan. I've visited over 65 of them, some of them multiple times. I think I've done close to 140 presentations like this. Sometimes I talk to a group of 5 people, sometimes I talk to a group of 50 people or 100 people. It doesn't matter, I'll go anywhere, because this is so important. This is so important for us as individual people and homeowners, farmers, landlords, business owners. But more importantly, it's important for our state, because we are losing our state. Our state is being taken over, right? We're giving up too much of our land. We have about 180,000 privately owned properties in Michigan every year enter into a tax lien seizure process. 180,000, folks. 180,000 in Michigan alone, privately owned. These are properties that don't own mortgages anymore, right? It's not a mortgage lien. That's when you owe the bank. These are tax liens. This is something that someone has bought and paid for and they own, supposedly, and yet they owe the government. And if you don't pay your property tax bill, they're going to come and seize your home, your farm, or your business. Okay? That is the nitty-gritty of this. That property tax bill that you get twice a year, that is their legal right to come and take your property away when you don't pay that bill. That is what we have to stop. The proposal, we would love to have just said, we want to stop the government from being able to seize our property. That was my whole purpose. I just want to stop them, don't take my property. But when we talk about that, we know that our property taxes pay for services, right? So the other thing that I get from people is like, well, you can't get rid of property tax, Karla. The sky's gonna fall down, right? If you get rid of property tax, what's gonna happen? You're gonna close the schools, you're gonna close the libraries, the zoos, the museums. They're all worried about that, but they're not worried about their neighbor right next door that's gonna lose his house, right? We need to think bigger picture here, folks. We need to really think about the big picture of what is happening to the state of Michigan, what is happening to ourselves. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and my life and what's going on. I have parents that are 84 and 85, they're basically homebound. They don't go anywhere. They live in Ottawa County. They have to pay for services like the library. They don't go to the library. They used to have to pay for the hockey rink. They weren't playing hockey. They were not hockey players. There's multiple other services on their property tax bill that they don't use. Okay, now we all know we need the police and fire, and we need the county road commission because we need the police and fire to get to us in the wintertime, right? Those are essential services to me. There's a lot of other services that are on our property tax bills that are not essential. My parents don't have kids in school anymore, but yet they're paying a lot of school millages, right? So we have to really start looking at our property tax bill. How many of you look at your property tax bill? How many of you have your property tax bills paid through your mortgages? Okay, so let's think about, again, I'm gonna go back to my parents, 84, 85 years old. They're living in the same place that they've lived for about 40 years. Their taxes are relatively low, right, because they've been there so long, and you guys know that there's a cap. There's a cap on, that's what the Headley and the Prop A kind of put a cap on our property, so your property values can only go up a maximum of 5% every year. Governor Whitmer wants to take that cap off. Okay, she wants to take that cap off and let our property tax values go up with inflation. That's gonna kill us all. If you watching what's happening in other states property taxes are going up anywhere from 15 to 45%. We can't afford that. People cannot afford that. Okay, so going back to my parents, which of the millages on their property tax bill is going to tip them over the edge so that they will not be able to afford that property tax bill anymore, right? Because why do people lose their homes due to tax liens? Because they don't pay the property tax bill. Now, do you think those people are just saying, I don't want to pay that bill? No, they're like the majority of us. You get that bill in the mail and you pay it. You're just brainwashed to pay it because if you don't pay it, you'll lose your home, right? So it's not that people don't want to pay their property taxes. A lot of them just can't afford it anymore. My dad started working in 1957. He quit working 25 years ago. I don't know if he ever made $60,000 a year. He probably didn't, not in his whole life. And we farmed. We also grew up on a farm. My mom, like a lot of 84-year-old women, were stay-at-home moms. She didn't have a job. So how much is her Social Security? If either one of them pass, they will definitely get forced to sell the house. Obviously, there's 5 of us kids, luckily, so we're doing everything we can to make sure that my parents are able to age in place and stay in that home. Because here's the thing, if my mom and dad are forced to sell their home and go into a nursing home, a lot of that money has to go to the state because the state's going to make you use your money before they start kicking in with Medicaid and Medicare, right? So where's our inheritance? Where does it go? It just went to the state. My mom and dad could die the next day and the money's gone. You just don't know. But why should anyone be forced to sell something that they've paid for? It's theirs, and yet they're forced to sell it because they can't pay property taxes, again, for services that they don't use. So that is what is unfair about this, and we can't hardly even talk about that because people don't want to talk about equality and fairness. Only the Democrats want to talk about it because they want to spread your wealth around. But you know what? I think you take the wealth, you take the debt. That's my philosophy. If you want to share the wealth, you got to share the debt as well. But they never want to go there. So we have people that are being forced to sell their house. Like I said, I have young people. I'm not selling houses to young people. It's not because they can't afford the home. Home prices have definitely gone up, but home prices have not gone up on a monthly basis more than what property taxes have. It's the property taxes that are preventing young people from buying homes. Because a mortgage you get to amortized over 30 years, right?
Starting tomorrow.
You buy a house and you know how much house you can buy. If you can buy a $200,000 or $300,000 house or whatever the number is, you know how much the monthly payment's going to be on the mortgage. What you don't know is when you start adding $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800 a month in property taxes, again, for services you don't use. Do you pay property taxes? Does it fill your kitchen cabinet with groceries? No. Does it fill your car with gas? No. Does it pay for your utilities to heat your house? No. Those are the essentials of life. People can't even afford prescription drugs. They're trying to decide, do I pay my property tax bill or do I put food on my table? Do I pay my property tax bill or do I buy the drugs I need? These are hard choices that people are having to make. And some of us are very fortunate that we don't have to think about this because maybe we have a job that allows us to be able to afford those property taxes, but man, there's a lot of people that aren't. You look around what's happening in the United States, you look at the homelessness that's going on, right? Grand Rapids, Detroit, all of these big cities, but even here in our little cities, in our little rural areas, we have more homeless people than we ever have. And we are creating more every day with high property taxes. I had a sheriff visit. I was up in Mackinac County and I had the sheriff from Mackinac County come to my presentation. He said, I've heard about it, I wanted to learn more. And I said, well, tell me if I'm wrong, because when I was with the sheriff's department, we went on a lot of different calls, right? We went on domestics. We went on drug calls. We had people, drinking and driving or, DUI issues with the domestic violence and that kind of stuff. Suicide. Okay, we did it all. You see it all. And it's very sad, but you know what? The common denominator is finances. Domestic violence, he doesn't make enough, she spends too much, right? And they get in a fight, they start drinking, they get in a fight because it's all about money. How do I pay the rent? How do I pay this? How do I buy that? This, whatever else. Crime, because you'll have a dad that you'll say he's the most normal, sane person in the world, and then he goes and robs a convenience store or a bank because he's trying to put food on the table for his kids. There's a lot of bad actors out there. I know that there's some people that commit crime just for the heck of it, right? Because they can. There's a lot of people that are forced to commit a crime because they're trying to just live life, and they can't do it. And then they have addictions, so they drug problems. They start being dependent on drugs, alcohol, those kind of things, right? We see suicide. Suicide amongst farmers is huge. Why? Because they're the ones that are going to lose the family farm. After it's been in their family for many years, they're the ones that are going to lose it because they can't afford it. They had 2 bad crop years, wipes them out, property tax bill comes. And they're afraid they're the ones that are going to lose the family farm. So we see all of this, and I asked that sheriff, I said, tell me if I'm wrong. How much less crime would we have if people didn't have to worry about being homeless? I mean, we wouldn't have as many homeless people for our law enforcement to have to take care of, right? Or kick out of the doorways or kick off the vents out in the street because they're trying to stay warm. We're creating homeless people every day, and it's mostly due to property taxes because they are forced out of a home for a bill that has services on it that they don't use. And this is what we have to stop. Number one, the other thing that I want to talk about is how much of you have heard about the WEF, World Economic Forum. I am not a conspiracy theorist, but there's proof. There's actual proof in Detroit because there's a building in Detroit for the World Economic Forum. They are there in Detroit. And you'd be surprised at the people that are funding that are behind all of that. And when we talk about the World Economic Forum, here's some of their goals. No private ownership of land.
Yep.
Let's shut down all the mom and pops, right? All the mom and pop shops, all the Jimmy, you, me, because I own a little restaurant, we're gonna be closed. It's gonna be the big box stores and it's gonna be corporations that the government's going to do deals with. And the rest of us, they don't want us to be self-sufficient. And again, this is just a correlation. This is just something that I think about. I'm a kind of a military history buff kind of person. Studied the World War II a lot. You know what? I kind of feel a little bit like the Jews in the ghettos. 15-minute cities, have you heard about those? 15-minute, they're all over. I mean, they have plans. We probably have 12 or 15 cities here in Michigan that have been identified as 15-minute cities. This is coming. It's here. And they've already identified them, and now they're making them happen. Right? That's what they're doing. And property taxes is one of the ways they're going to do it. They're going to tax us to the point where we have to give up our land. If you saw, there's articles. Let me go back and just finish this thought with the Jews in the ghettos, because I feel like what they're doing, just like they put the Jews in the ghettos, they stripped them of their homes, they stripped them of their businesses, their jewels, and their money, and their individualities, right? They put them in the ghetto, they threw them a little food and a little firewood to keep them heated, they threw some diseases at them to see if they survived, and if anybody survived that, they loaded you up on a train and took you away. Okay? I kind of feel that way. I kind of feel like that's what's happening to us. Little bit by little bit, and they sell it to you like it's a good idea. It's a good idea, folks. This is for your, like the whole climate thing and the EV, and we're looking after the world, and you got to be doing it too, and we're going to get you to buy this and not that, whatever. We have to stand up and say, no, we can't keep following this path that they're trying to push us or lead us on. If we don't maintain private ownership of land, we have nothing. You will have no rights. You will not have the right to do anything or go anywhere. I went up to Ogama, talked to a group of people up there, and they were all about their Second Amendment rights. They came in there with their 2A hats and their 2A shirts and their 2A jackets and vests and whatever, and pins and this and what. I'm like, wow, you guys. I'm like, this is exciting, this is cool. You guys are, really, really support your Second Amendment rights, your gun rights. Yeah, Karla, we're going to fight really hard. We're going to fight really hard. And I said, well, you better fight 100 times harder to maintain private ownership of land. Because as soon as you become a tenant of the government, you will have no guns. They won't even have to get rid of your Second Amendment. They'll just take your home and then say, oh, you need a place to live? We got one for you. But you're not allowed to have a gun or a knife there. Park those at the door. We'll take those for you. We'll hang on to them for you. Right? So, if we don't have land, are you going to be able to grow a garden to feed yourself? Nope. Are you going to be able to have a chicken to raise some, to have some eggs? No. Cow for milk? No. Goat for soap? No. What are you going to do? Part of what they're talking about with the whole World Economic Forum, Agenda 2030, all this crap, they don't even want you to be able to buy clothes. That's one of the things on their list. You better start hanging on to whatever you got. It's crazy, people, and you can stand here, and I can stand here and I can talk to you about this, and people don't want to believe it. I don't want to believe it either. Because I would really love to just go about my everyday life thinking that everything's going to be fine and perfect and rosy, and I just got to worry about my business and my kids and my grandkids. And then I started thinking, I better start worrying about my business, because who else is going to? Not my politicians, I'll tell you that. And I better start worrying about my kids, and I better start worrying about the future of my grandkids. So that's why I'm here trying to fight this fight. It's not going to be about us. It's going to be, what do we leave for the people after us, right? So property taxes, let's talk about that. Think about your property tax bill. I'm sorry I don't have my slideshow here because I just did an event in North Oakland, and I believe my projector got put in the car of the guy that was there with me, so I do not have the slideshow. But what I do have, and I can pass these out, you guys can I have several copies of a couple of my property tax bills, and just kind of pass some of these out. We can talk about this a little bit. I'll give them wherever. So you can kind of pass them out and look at them. These are all my property tax bills. These are at my house. These are at my vacant piece of property and my building. But just kind of look at them, because so I'm in Cannon Township, Kent County. So here's the questions I get when people say to me, Karla, you can't get rid of property tax. how will we fund the schools? Okay, who's worried about the schools?
No.
Oh my God, okay, I can just skip that part. No, I'm just kidding. No one cares about the public schools. Some people do, but I think it's just a knee-jerk reaction. Because they are told, hey, if you don't vote for a school millage, you don't love your kids, you don't love my kids, you don't love your neighbor's kids, and you don't love your grandkids. You better vote for that school millage. Shame on you if you don't, right? They try to shame us into everything. If you look at these bills as they're kind of floating around here, my school district is Rockford. What do you got here? Newaygo Public Schools or something? Okay. Whoever, look at my bill and think that it's your bill, right? So when you look at this, if you have public school millages on your property tax bill, none of that money goes towards education. Okay? None of that money goes towards education. So don't even worry about voting no on those public school millages. Vote no. What this is the schools not living within their budgets. Okay? And asking for things so they can pay a DEI officer or whatever else. It's also for football fields, jumbotrons, artificial turf, and playground equipment. The brilliant people in Rockford, here's what we did. We just had a millage renewal. We voted in $2.5 million a year for 20 years for playground equipment at 8 public schools. Think about that. $2.5 million a year for 20 years for playground equipment at 8 public schools. Does that seem unreasonable to anybody?
It's government.
I tried to tell them I'd do it, as a builder, I'll do it for $2 million. I'll save y'all $500,000 a year. It's nuts. And then that's Rockford Public Schools Parks and Recs. That's under the Parks and Recs millage, okay? We also have a building and site millage. Okay, so why doesn't playground equipment fit under the building and site millage? Well, because the building and site millage is just another excuse to get some more money from us. It's probably maintenance. Do you guys know that most townships and counties don't pay for the schools, right? It's federal dollars that build the schools. Your millages equip the schools, okay? You pay for computers and desks and pencils and whatever else kind of junk they have in the schools, right? Not the school building. You do pay the maintenance of the school building. But it's our federal dollars that pay for the school's actual building. Okay, so we have operating and expense. Sometimes you'll see, if my house bill is floating around there, you'll see that I'm exempt from the Rockford Public School operating expense because it's my homestead. But man, do they like to sock my commercial building.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we have a place up north by Crystal Lake up there, and it was in the family for over 100 years. And now my wife's sister is living there. And I couldn't believe the tax bill, $8,500 for a house there. And she complained about it, she says, well, who's your neighbors? And it's Dr. So-and-so and that. She says, that don't matter. But luckily, her husband passed away, but luckily, her husband was a disabled vet, so they don't have to pay house tax. So, but it would have been $8,500 a month for her.
Or we would have lost.
Yeah.
We probably would have
It's
lost.
kind of crazy. Yeah.
But that's only because it was disabled, not for veterans.
Correct.
Disabled, you have to be 100% disabled
100%.
veteran to get that. Yeah, my son-in-law is. So going back to the school millages, please vote no. I don't know if you have any millages coming up here during the February primaries. If you don't have them in your area, find out what areas do have them and go help them. Go volunteer to door knock. Tell them if they print up material, you'll go door knock in their neighborhoods to help them turn these millages down. We have to get these millages off our property taxes. If we would just go and vote no on millages, we could decrease our property tax by 50 to 75% by eliminating all of the non-essential villages. So we would be paying a lot less, and we would have a lot less foreclosures. If we can't get rid of property taxes altogether, we need to start saying no on all of those millages. That's a great way to say, screw you, no, we're not doing it. We're having to live within a budget, so do you. I want them to prove to me that they need the money, because I never see financials. And I will tell you what, they lie. They flat out lie. And as a business, anybody, how many business owners do I have in here? A few? You know that as a homeowner, you vote. Do you get a vote as a commercial owner? No. Right? So you can't even cross out the person sitting next to you. You can't even cross out their vote. So our commercial buildings, we're sitting ducks. Because everybody, I had in Rockford, the newer superintendent or supervisor, whatever you want to call him. In 2020, he said there was a millage up for renewal, and he sent out a postcard. And on the front and back side of that postcard, which is about a half a sheet of paper, 7 times he said, "Hey, Mr. Homeowner, don't worry, it's not going to affect you. It's only going to affect those this was a non-homestead millage, this was a non-homestead. So it's only going to affect those nasty non-homestead people, right? Those commercial buildings and those people that dare own 2 homes and your landlord, whatever. It's not gonna affect you, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. So go out and vote. Go out and vote to raise this millage, because we need this millage." And I'm like, I wrote an article and put it in the Squire. And I said, I call bullshit. Pardon my language. I call bullcrap. Because I'm like, it definitely affects you. You raise my taxes, the cost of your bacon and eggs just went up. You raise your oil change business taxes, your oil change just went up. Any commercial building out there, tire change place, whatever it might be, clothing store, whatever, you raise their property taxes, the cost of your goods just went up. And who's gonna benefit? They're gonna pay, and you're gonna drive them right out of your neighborhood. And when they take their business and they pick up and they pack up and they move on down the street, you've just lost that service in your community. But you've also lost them as an employer. You've lost them as a taxpayer, right? Now where are you gonna have to go to get the best pizza in town? I don't know. Now where are you gonna go to get your tires changed? I don't know. But you just tax them out of existence, or you tax them to the point where they've picked up and they move down the road. Okay? So you gotta be careful about these millages. Just because it might not impact you directly, it's going to impact you indirectly in many, many, many ways. Okay? So the next one on there I'm going to talk about is the library. Who likes their library? A few. Who uses the library? How many of you pay for the library? Oh my gosh, there you go. You struck gold there. Okay, Kent District Library. Because I live in Kent County, I have to pay the Kent District Library taxes. Okay, millage. This was very disturbing to me, and I hope I'm opening your eyes on this. Because Kent County, if they own any brick and mortar libraries, it's very few. Mostly they're owned by the township or the city in which those libraries are located in, okay? Now, I can't say all, I'm saying most. I'm in Cannon Township. Cannon Township, we have 14,400 people, and that's from just being born to 1 foot in the grave, okay? That's total population, 14,400. Last year, Cannon Township, where I live, and I'm a property taxpayer, we paid $1,048,000 to use the library in the city of Rockford. It's not, it's in the city of Rockford, okay? Algoma Township paid $713,500. Cortland Township paid $485,000, and the city of Rockford paid $425,000. So if you add those up real quick, not with the new math that they're teaching, but old math, it's about $2.7 million a year for 3 townships and 1 city to use the same library. Now I'm telling you,
Wow.
these libraries are just a pass-through. You could go to Lakeland Library Services and you could get the services from Lakeland directly. There's other library services out there. Why are we going through Kent District Library? Why are we paying so much money and there's nobody going to the library? You can do most of it on your phone. That's what a lot of people do. I've been past our library a couple of times. I see no cars there other than probably the people that work there. How many of you been into a library where there's been more than 10 people? And I'm not talking like a meeting. Not like during a meeting, but that you just went to check out a book or maybe make a copy or something like that, right? Okay, so where's all the people that are supposed to be using these libraries because they say that these libraries are so necessary and needed, right? But who's using them? I don't know. Drag queens reading pornographic books to our kids. You know what? They want my money, but they don't want my opinion. I can't tell them. You know, Ottawa County, Patmos Library, they closed that library. I mean, they said no on the millages a couple of times, and then it finally passed because people. But you know what? All they were asking them to do is like just put the nasty books someplace where not every kid can see them as they walk in the door. And they just didn't want to comply with that. So they voted the millage down a couple of times. I think maybe the third time it did go through. So hopefully they were able to work out something where maybe those books got put someplace other than front and center. But going back to my Cannon Township and my property tax bill, I pay for the library at my home, $265 a year. Well, $265 I think on just one of my bills, my winter bill or my summer bill. So you gotta pay twice, right? You get two bills. My building pays a ton, so I probably pay about $1,700 a year for a library I've never set foot in. I'll never go to. I know I won't. I love books. I'm a bookaholic. I read a ton, but I don't go to the library. So anyway, our library, $1,048,000. I called Kent District Library and I said, could you please tell me how many people in Cannon Township, how many of those 14,400 people that we're paying $1,048,000 for, how many of those people went and used the library? Well, we can't tell you that, Karla. Really? With all the technology today, you can't tell me that. Interesting. But they could tell me that there was 2,200 swipes. 2,200 swipes of a card made by Cannon Township residents in a year. And I said, well, wait a minute. So is that 22 unique people going 100 times? Is it 100 people going 22 times? You know, what is it? I mean, because if there's only 22 people out of 14,400 and we're spending $1,048,000, that sucks. That there's something rotten going on. I went to our board meeting, Cannon Township board meeting, and I said, Steve, this has got to stop. My supervisor's name is Steve. Steve, this has got to stop. He goes, what's the matter, Karla? And I said, we paid $1,048,000. And they can't tell me. All they could tell me was 2,200 swipes. They can't tell me how many people. So I said, I'll just do the math again, and I'll just divide $1,048,000 by 2,200. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say there's 2,200 unique people, even though it was just swipes. Cost me $320 every time somebody went to the library. It cost the property taxpayers of Cannon Township $320 for 2,200 swipes for the library. Does anybody else think that doesn't make a whole lot of sense? I could buy a lot of books for $320, and I could buy the books I want my grandkids to read. You guys got to look at this, and you know what? We just passed that millage too, because some people are just dumber than a box of rocks.
Amen.
And they're uneducated. I shouldn't say they're dumber than a box of rocks. We're uneducated. We're uninformed. And here's the kicker. What they didn't tell us, except in this very little tiny print, when you went to the ballot box, a portion of the money that you think you're giving to the library is actually going to a land bank.
What?
It's going to a land bank. Who knows what a land bank is for? You know what the land banks are going to do? When I can't afford the millage for the library and for the land bank that I'm supporting through my library millage, that land bank is gonna be sitting there ready to take my house when it goes into foreclosure. So now not am I only supporting the library I don't use, but I'm supporting the very entity that's gonna end up with my house when we can't pay that library millage, right? So you need to read the fine print. You need to read the fine print on this stuff. Kent County has a veterans millage and a seniors millage on their property tax bill. I'm a senior, my parents are seniors, I love seniors, I love the military. So when I went there in 2020, I was prepared to vote yes on both of those millages. Until I got there, because this was something else that we really didn't hear anything about until you get to the ballot box. Our senior millage and our veterans millage, when I went there, I looked at it and I thought, what the heck? Why is it this big? It says, here's the senior millage, and here's the little 100-word summary, and then there was all of this other garbage underneath it, and I thought, what the heck is that? So I started reading the fine print. 31 downtown development authorities were attached to my veterans millage and my senior millage. Who knows what a DDA is? Downtown Development Authority. They're the people that say, hey, we want to put flower boxes on 7th Street and 9th Street. We want to change all the city signs because that one's outdated and we want to make this cute little fancy thing on our street signs. They put bike racks out on the street for people to use, right? And then multiple other things DDAs do. But the fact that I'm being asked to support my seniors and my vets, and then there's 31 downtown development authorities that are grabbing that money from them, I'm like, oh hell no, I ain't doing that. Because they never go away.
Right.
They never go away. They're supposed to get $8,000 to put flower pots out, and then that DDA never goes away. And they keep asking for more money. It's supposed to be very specific. You can raise this much money to do this much as a project, and then they're supposed to go away. They're supposed to close, and they never go away. See, this lady right here, she's verifying what I'm saying. They never go away. Again, pay attention, folks. Is this what you want your dollars to go for? When you start into that foreclosure process, don't you think you would have looked back at your property tax bill at one time and said, man, I wish I had voted no on that one? There's so many things on our property tax bills that we don't use, but we are forced to pay for at the risk. This is the only tax that anyone pays where our very home is at risk. If you're a business owner, if you're a farmer, it's your very way of life. It's how you make an income, and it's at risk. Why? I've asked people, I said, people complain to me, they go, well, Karla, you're going to shut down the zoo and the museum and the libraries, and I'm like, show me the book in the library that's worth someone losing their home. Because I have not seen one. Zoos and museums, I haven't been to the John Ball Zoo since 3rd grade when they shoved us on a bus and hauled us there. I grew up on a farm. I love my farm animals. I don't need to go to a zoo. But you know what? If people want to go, pay an admission. You know why? You know why it's on my property tax bill? Because the city of Grand Rapids couldn't afford it, so they gave it to Kent County, because there's a lot more people in Kent County than there were in the city of Grand Rapids. City of Grand Rapids couldn't support it, not enough people. Give it to Kent County, 650,000 people. Oh sure, we can support it. Why are we supporting a losing entity? It doesn't make enough money. It's not self-sufficient. It does not support itself, so you and I have to support the zoo. I mean, if it was a business, it would be closed. Yes, ma'am.
I volunteered there for 4 years. Most of the people
Thank you
that
for
work
volunteering.
there-
At least I'm not paying.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so many of the people that work there are volunteers. Like, they're giving their time. I gave my time for 4 years for that zoo, and I never saw a dime. I never
Let the animals out.
You don't want the lions out.
No, probably not.
And there's still admission.
It's
still have
still
to pay
admission.
too.
It's not free. There's still
It's not
admission.
free.
But we are supporting the losing business. If it was a business, you would close it. Because you don't throw good money after bad. Right? The only reason it's open is because they just go, oh, well, the property tax people will pay it. It's good for the whole community, Karla. Then let the whole community pay. Let the whole community pay. That's what I want. Do you guys realize that the state of Michigan, we're 30% renters? And I have nothing against renters. I get it. But renters don't pay as much for the services as what we do. Because here's what I'm telling you. Their landlord might pay $100,000 for a 100-unit apartment complex, right? Then he's going to take that $100,000 and he's going to divide it by 100 and he's going to charge everybody accordingly. So renters supposedly are paying property tax through their rent. Does that make sense? Okay. But if you rent an apartment, you might pay $150 a year to use the same services I'm paying $7,200 a year for. What? What? Because it's not the apartment building. It's not my house that uses the services. It's the people. It's the people. You go to the zoo, you go to the museum, you go to the library. I can't take my building there. I can't take my building to any one of those things. Why should I have to pay? Here, and as a commercial, as a business owner, I look at it and I think, what about all the other taxes I do pay? I pay corporate business tax, I have to collect sales tax, I hire people, I pay state income tax, they pay state income tax, right? All of those other taxes we pay. When you tax a commercial building, when you tax a corporation, you know what? You stop them from expanding. You stop them from growing. You stop them from hiring more people, right? How silly is that? Oh, but you should pay money to the zoo. Well, what good is that? When you tax people, the money dies, basically. It's not allowed to expand and grow. Whitmer knows this, because what did she do? Last year, we had a $9 billion excess, and people go, well, that was COVID money. Well, where in the heck do they think COVID money came from? Tax dollars, right?
Yeah.
So they go, okay, so $3 billion of our hard-earned dollars turned into tax dollars went to the government in Lansing, and Miss Whitmer, I should say, it's not her, we all signed a check for $1 billion and gave it to a Ford and CCP company to come into Marshall, Michigan.
Yep.
You guys know this, right? Marshall, Michigan.
And Goshen.
It cost us $1 billion for that plant down there. And then they were told, you don't have to pay $772 million in property tax. What?
Yep.
What? And you know what? They're talking, this is what, somebody did the math. This wasn't me, it was somebody else. For every $48,000 job, it was gonna cost us $681,000. $681,000 for every $48,000 job. And you know what? They're cutting the jobs back already. Goshen here, Costa County, we wrote them out a check for each $700 to $700 million. We did, we all signed that. They won't pay property taxes for 30 years. Who's going to pay for the services they suck out of the community? Hey, if the fire department, what happens if the building starts on fire? Does that mean the fire department doesn't have to go? Let it burn. Let it burn now, right? And you know what? They're bringing in Chinese nationals and Iranians to work there. And you know what? They're not even, you know what? Help us get our people off welfare and unemployment. I asked some of the politicians when I went to Lansing many times. I would book like a whole day on Tuesday. I'd call everybody I could, all of the politicians, all of the state house reps, all of the senators, and go, can I come and talk to you? And they would give me like 15 minutes. I'd fill up a whole day on Tuesday. I'd run down there and I'd talk to them. Most of them don't understand the budget. I gotta be kind because somebody's filming me here. Most of them don't understand the budget at all. At all. When I ask them something, their eyes glaze over and they're like, oh, Karla. And I got to the point where I would go there and I would open my mouth and I would say one sentence and I'd go, and I would say, thank you very much for your time. I'll catch you next time in town. I'm in Lansing. Because I thought, I'm not going to get through to this person. I'm not going to make, what I'm talking about, they have no clue. And or they just don't care. Because they go to Lansing and they think, here's this big, huge pot of money, and we get to use it all. And you know what? Hey, it doesn't matter. If the property taxpayers, hey, if you all each have to pay just $10 more on your property tax, no big deal. No big deal, right? Yes, sir.
When's the 180 days start?
It already started.
Well,
Yeah, it already started.
When's it gonna
I'll
get-
talk about that. I'll talk about that in just a minute. So we have all of these other things on our property tax bills, right? My Cannon Township, every township in the state of Michigan, there's 1,240 townships in the state of Michigan, we all get money. It's called general revenue sharing of sales tax. This has been going on for a long time. In most townships, I'm not gonna say all, because I don't know all, but in most townships, that money will cover their essential services. In my township, it's based on population, my township, Cannon Township, got $1.5 million last year as their share of general revenue sharing of just the sales tax dollars. Okay? We only spent $640,000. That's what our budget was, $640,000. We got $1.5 million. Guess what? We just built a $560,000 pickleball court. Woohoo! That's a good way for us to spend our tax money when we have people losing their homes. Don't you think? When we're making homeless people, when people can't buy prescription medicine or food or heat their house. Pickleball court's a good way to spend the money. And we're also building an $800,000 walking trail. I live in, my area is rural enough that the only thing I worry about getting hit by when I walk down the road is a cow or, a deer. And yet I'm gonna have 5 walking trails in Cannon Township? This one came up, $800,000 and a $265,000 engineering bill, and what's it gonna cost to maintain it? Right? That's where our money is going, folks. We need to think about this, because they're taking our land to pay for things that they want, not need. It's what they want. There is, we did get our township supervisor, Steve. He removed the admin fee off our property tax bill. Start there, go to your township and go, we don't wanna pay that anymore. Cause that's like salt in your wounds, right? They're taking money from you to take money from you.
Right.
They're charging you an admin fee to take money from you, and I said, you know what? If you're collecting the money for all of those other entities, like the school, the library, the zoo, the museum, get it from them. Take it from them. Why are you taking it from me? So Steve took the admin fee off our property tax bill. You know how much it costs the city, the township of Cannon? $118,000 a year, and he could do it like that. He like that. Gone. Okay, we won't do that anymore. He looks like a hero. Good, Steve. That's a great start. He also said that he's going to reduce our operating expenses by 5%, the millage by 5%. I have another township supervisor that said that they could totally take the township's operating expenses off the property tax bill because they currently today get more money in general revenue sharing of the sales tax from the government than what they spend. There's several townships. If you elect good people that are mindful of your dollars, we can do this. They can do it. Our proposal is going to give them even more money. I have another thing I'm gonna send out here real quick. I don't have very many of these, but I wanna show you, this is the state's budget. This is November 2020, so these numbers are old. I haven't seen them update this. But on the left-hand side, right-hand side, this side right here, these are all taxes we pay that are big enough to show up on this budget, right? These are the buckets. So with the biggest one on the top is the state income tax bucket. The one in the middle is the sales tax bucket. Do you know where the property tax bucket is? It's this little tiny bucket right here. That is all the money the state gets from our property taxes. This little bucket right here. This is state income tax, this is sales tax, this is property tax. It's only $2.5 billion. $2.5 billion a year is what the state gets from our property tax. See everything that's shaded in green? Everything that's shaded in green is the public school aid bucket. Our public school aid bucket is now $24 billion. We spend more in public schools than 21 other states pay for their whole state. 21, almost half of the states in the United States spend less running their whole state than Michigan pays just for public schools. And guess where the quality of our education is? We're 2 from the bottom. We're 2 from the bottom out of 50 states. Our property taxes, we're we're the 12th highest of property taxes, so that means we're behind states like California, New Jersey, New Hampshire, New York. Those are states. Alaska, what do we all know about Alaska? It costs a lot to live there, right? High cost of living. Michigan's number 2, right behind them in spending of schools. Okay, we're right behind them. They have a reason, high cost of living. What's our reason? Governor Whitmer. Okay, oh, sorry. So we can totally eliminate this little tiny $2.5 billion bucket. That's the state education tax. Look it up on your property tax bill or my property tax bill, you'll see it. It's 6 mils. That's state education tax. When I talk about all of those other public school millages that don't educate our kids, those don't educate our kids. This is the one that does. This is where the education. But look at where the schools get all the rest of their money from. Out of a $24 billion bucket, only 2.5 comes from property tax. The other 21.5 comes from sales tax, corporate business tax, state income tax, the lottery. We're all sold on the lottery. The lottery was supposed to take property taxes or school aid off our property tax bills, right? What happened? Yeah. What happened?
Liars,
you know what?
liars.
Yeah. Liar, pants on fire. Here's what happened. When it first started, we were paying the winners only 45 cents out of every dollar. The rest of it was going to the schools. Now we're paying the winners 61 cents out of every dollar. So the schools are getting 16 cents of every dollar less than they're supposed to, which is why the school taxes came back on your property tax bill. Okay, let's just go back to the original rule in 1972 when they sold us on this idea, and let's just get it off. We could that alone would probably make up most of that 2.5 money, that 2.5 bill. Okay, that alone. So the other problem we have, here's our attendance in public schools. It's this red line. The red line is the attendance. The blue lines are schools. Okay, blue lines are schools, and we keep building them. Rockford just built a new school, I think, elementary school. The red is the number. City of Grand Rapids is closing 10 public schools. The city of Grand Rapids is closing 10 public schools due to lack of attendance. Where's all those millages going? Where's that millage money going? Because I'm sure we voted on them at one point, right? We can totally eliminate property tax, folks. It's totally doable. If we get out and get the signatures that we need, 600,000, we get it on the ballot, we go out and vote, we can get rid of it. We have a provision in the proposal that talks about giving the townships a bigger portion of the sales tax. We also propose that we take a portion of the state income tax, the alcohol, the marijuana, and the tobacco tax, because where do we deal with those addictions? At the local level. We want a portion of all of that, not only to the townships, so the townships will get more of those tax dollars that we've already paid, where it's just we're paying those tax dollars, send them back to us and our townships to cover more of those essential services. We also, our proposal makes it constitutionally mandatory that the counties finally receive a portion of their general revenue sharing as well. Because they're supposed to, but it's statutory, not constitutionally mandatory, so they haven't been getting paid. My county, Kent County, one of the 4th largest counties in the state, would have gotten $26 million last year. That's no small chunk of change. But here's something else I want you to think about. Kent County, 650,000 people, our budget is 540,000 or 540 million, but only 182 million of that comes from property tax. Where does the rest of it come from? There's other sources of revenue. There's other sources of revenue. My township, Cannon Township, last year, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars they didn't make just off building permits. Building permits, HVAC permits, mechanical, electrical, right? There's other sources of revenue for these townships and for these counties. It's all different because of where you are located. How many people, how many of this, how many of that you have in your area. But eliminating property tax is doable, and don't let anyone tell you it's not. The schools are not going to fall apart. The police and fire will still be funded. I have an idea of how to fund our county sheriffs and totally divorce them from the property taxes. Because number one, they're the highest law in the land. Number two, they shouldn't be under control of a bipartisan commission. Right? So let's get them off there. We can get rid of property tax. You guys can all maintain ownership of your homes, farms, and businesses until you're ready to sell them. They should not be taken from you. Who's heard of the affordable housing? We talked about this. Affordable housing is actually unaffordable affordable housing.
Yeah.
Right? Because anything the government does is not affordable. We know this, right? And what are they doing? They want to build affordable housing for who? Because Governor Whitmer has already formed a committee to find out why everybody's leaving Michigan and where they're going. I think we can tell her why. Right? But when people are leaving, where is the necessity for affordable housing? We have homes here, we have rentals here. But they're going to force us out of our houses, off our land. The government's going to come in through BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, land banks. They're going to take our property. We are going to become tenants of the government. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's happening quicker than what we think. Their goal is to own 30% of our land by 2030, 50% of our land by 2050, and they're way ahead of schedule, and we're making it way easy for them. And if you don't think COVID was all a part of that, it was. What happened to landlords during COVID? If you were a landlord during COVID, you still had to pay your bills, but your renters didn't have to pay you. Right? How do you pay taxes? How do you pay utilities? Like Jimmy, when he was open because if you're not open, how do you pay your property taxes? How do you pay your insurance and your utilities when you have no revenue coming in? You know how many landlords got out of the business during COVID? Because they couldn't afford it. They had mortgages, they had property taxes, they had insurance to pay with no revenue coming in. And Governor Whitmer herself made a statement, no Michigander should ever live in fear of losing their home. Unfortunately, she was only talking about renters at the time. You know what she did to landlords? 3 times. 3 times she vetoed a bill that would have given landlords relief on property taxes by still making them pay, but allowing them to pay over time with no penalties and interest. She said, no, not doing that. Not doing that. They just wrote in a whole bunch more rental laws. I wouldn't want to be a landlord today, because you're going to be screwed. You know what? Now you can't even check people's prison records. You can't even ask them where their income is coming from, because you know why? Because a lot of us are hardworking, patriot, grassroots people. We work hard for our money, and some of these people that are coming into the states, right? They're coming into Michigan. They're getting their money from our government. They're going to get their money from our tax dollars, and then they're going to come and rent an apartment from you, and you can't ask them where the money's coming from. You can't ask them, is this a stipend? Is this like free money for you from the government? Because they're giving them $2,200 a week, $2,200 a month, sorry. And they're going to use that money to rent something from you. And when they have no skin in the game, how well are they going to take care of your property? We need 600,000 signatures. Our 180 days has already started because we have been going to the Board of Canvassers since September, trying to get their approval. of our petition, they don't wanna give it to us. Why? Because they do not want you to be able to vote to eliminate property tax.
May I make a question?
Sure.
I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps.
In the
My
mic-
part across the country, and I kept saying to
microphone.
people, if you read the Constitution, I don't need that.
Yes, you do.
If you read the
We can't hear
Constitution,
you.
the founding fathers put the Second Amendment there and the First Amendment for a specific reason. Now, by God, I've been in different countries, 25 plus countries, and you go there, and you don't want a frickin' thing. You ain't got weapons. In Netherlands, they're confiscating farmers' lands in Netherlands. The Germans are they're doing the same problem all over. Sri Lanka, I was there in '56, it was a lot. Now, by God, people, my dad told me in the early '50s, he said, Dad, he told me, he said, I'll bury my guns before the government gets them. And what was going on right now, these politicians, we the people, we pay their wages. I was in the Marine Corps. No military man has any income, he creates their own income. No federal, state, local official. It comes from us. My dad said years and years ago, we are the government. Now, damn it, people stand up and say, enough is enough. You don't want to do it, and there's the bag. I called Miller's office twice about this CR. What was going on the board down there? You ain't seen nothing yet. It could be a freaking bloodbath. In Obama's office, they cut a guy's head off and he was out playing golf. Well, bull crap. You stand up and say, no, by God, we're not doing no more. And we elected them. By God, we tell them what to do.
Amen.
You-
I got it. Thank you for your service.
The thing is, people, when the Michigan State Police took that loaner, that Adrian from Holland, and Friday morning at 5:50, I'll be 88, 12 days, and my mind is sharp as a frickin' tack. Well, I'm gonna tell you something, when they picked that woman up at 5:50 in the morning and took her right in, and the judge put her in jail for 9 days and $15,000 fine, this is Adolf Hitler's country. But God, I won't put up with this shit. I won't be intimidated by no frickin' body. You either stand up or you die. One of the two. And I'm gonna tell you something else. This education system goes way back in the 60s. Because when I was there, I had guys, young kids, drop out of school from all over the country. Ain't no difference where he was at, north, south, east, west. They couldn't write, read, or spell a word. Education system is back there, it's no better, it's probably worse right now. You guys from Fremont, you remember in 2006 when they wanted to redo the front of high school for $50 million? I said, they don't teach nobody nothing. And I said, you can teach kids in a pole building. I got books, goes back to 1887. I got $2.50 I got and you can't find them. All right, let me ask you a question. When was the Great Wall of China started? Anybody know? 214 AD. I got a dictionary of wars, battles. It was put in 1904, and it's got what back in there? The earliest is BC 11. And it goes back all over. The Civil War is in there from America. I haven't finished it because it's that thick. Knowledge is power, and I've told these young people, knowledge is power. The more you know, the less you're going to get screwed.
I got a question to
Yes, sir.
follow up on a comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. You said the Board of Canvassers is giving you grief, so have you had your signing petition approved as that? Because they can throw out signatures.
Right,
If
absolutely.
you understand you can't just photostat,
Yeah.
oh, you understand
Let
that.
me talk about that a minute. So this gentleman right here is asking about the Board of Canvassers. So what I said, we've been going to the Board of Canvassers since September trying to get approval. And there's two Republicans and 2 Democrats. And then there's the general director. And then there's 2 attorneys, they're Democrat attorneys that just kind of live there in the board meetings, right? They come to all of them, they argue about everything. So we wanted to go this route. You don't have to, but we wanted to go this route because we said this proposal is so important to the people of the state of Michigan and to the state of Michigan herself, that we have to make sure that we do everything by the rules. We went in September, we gave them, here's our 100-word summary. Here's the petition. The director looks at that. He didn't like our 100-word summary, so he wrote his own. The board won't pass it. In October, we had to go back. The board wouldn't pass it. He wrote another one. The board wouldn't pass that one. In November, we went back again with a third summary that their director had written. The 2 Republicans approved it. The 1 Democrat that showed up said, no, I don't want to approve it until I see the whole body of the petition, which is not what she's supposed to see. We don't have to submit the whole body to the board, only to the director. So with 2 Republican approval, she wouldn't approve it. The other Democrat never showed up. In December, they canceled the meeting and said, well, yeah, we just didn't feel like doing a meeting, so you're not on the agenda. Which put us into January 19. They're already cutting into our 180 days. This is on purpose. We went there January, and from November, when the 2 Republicans on the board had approved our language, the director rewrote it again. There was another one to vote on in January. They weren't voting on it. We probably sat there for almost 5 hours arguing with these 2 Democrat attorneys that have nothing to do with our proposal, but they hold a lot of sway with the board. In fact, the Madam Chair was the one attorney's attorney at one time. I think that's a conflict of interest. In November, the day that we went to the board, it was really kind of snowy, icky day. The Madam Chair walked into the meeting. I went there from Grand Rapids and I made it on time, and it was bad. The weather was bad, so I left early because I wanted to be there. The Madam Chair said, Mr. Brewer, who is the attorney that she was an attorney for, said Mr. Brewer called me from his cell phone, called me on my cell phone, in my car, on the way here, and he wants me to hold up your place in the agenda until he gets here. He's going to be late. And I said, I'm like, excuse me? What? I'm paying an attorney to sit here. We're number 3 on the agenda. I want our thing to be heard as number 3 on the agenda so I can send my attorney home so I can stop paying them. But she put us way to the end of the meeting, waiting for Mr. Brewer to show up, because she can't make a decision without, they sit there and she does this, and she's just looking at him. They have a house attorney. They have a house attorney that sits right up there with them. She's supposed to direct her questions to that person. She looks right at the 2 attorneys that are sitting there. So he has already promised us in January 19, they again didn't approve our language, and then they rewrote one right there that the board approved, and I said, but I don't approve it. It sucks. It's horrible. No one will sign this. No one will vote to eliminate property tax because you can't even understand what it meant. Plus, it was factually wrong. They had percentages in there that were not in our petition. So I'm like, well, I don't approve it. So they wanted us to come back in February. We can't do that. We can't lose any more days. We have to turn the signatures in by a certain date for them to review them and get it on the petition. So January 15 was the beginning of our 180 days. So we've already lost a week. Well, I said, you know what, this is what we're going to do. We're going to withdraw the petition because we're going to withdraw their approval of the bad 100-word summary. We're going to go back to the November one that the 2 Republicans approved of. The Democrat chair didn't say she wouldn't approve it. She just said she wanted to see it on the body of the petition. So it wasn't a yes or a no either way. And the 4th Democrat never showed, the 2nd Democrat or the 4th person never showed up. Well, to me, that's 50-50. She could have voted yes, she could have voted no. So but the attorneys, the 2 Democrat attorneys have already promised they're going to sue us. They're like, we're going to sue you. We're going to sue you. They've already said it. It's on tape, it's on the live stream, everything. They're like, we're already going to sue you. Because like I said, they don't want you all to have a chance to vote on this. So I said, we'll withdraw, and we immediately went to the printer, put the November summary back on the body of our petition. We'll file it with the Secretary of State, and we'll start collecting signatures. Now, are they gonna sue us? Absolutely, but they're probably gonna wait to see how many signatures. Why would you spend all of the money suing us if we only get 200,000 signatures and we need 600,000? So they're gonna wait until the very end, but by then, I'm hoping we not only have 600,000 signatures, maybe we have 1 million. Maybe we have 2 million, who knows? But we're gonna garner a lot of support all across the state. I already have House reps that are supporting us. Representative Jim DeSena, he wants to be the political face of Axe My Tax. I have Steve Carra. I have Andrew Fink, Senator Andrew Fink, Senator Jim Runstead. They will help us. They will support us with fundraising and signing events. Neil Frisky, he will. I mean, so we're starting to get these people to realize they could run on this. And if they're running and talking about saving people's money, taxes, homes, that's going to be a winning message for them because we've already had it. We're sick of it. We're done, right? So in the meantime, what we're doing is working on getting some like Judicial Watch, some of those other larger companies to maybe look at doing something pro bono for us because what they are doing is infringing on our freedom of speech, freedom to petition. Because they want to fight it in the Board of Canvassers meeting where it doesn't cost them any money. They can be there and they can argue against it all day long, and as long as they convince the Board of Canvassers not to approve our language, then they can just say, well, they're going to run out of time and then they're going to give up and they're not going to do it. They don't know how stubborn I am. They're going to find out.
I'll tell you what, Karla, I'll be behind you 100%.
Thank you, sir.
And I ain't right with them. I'm gonna come one time and do that.
And you know what? Here again, thank you. And we do have support from a lot of people. And what everywhere I go, and I have skepticism, but by the end of the conversation, by the end of the presentation, people are going, "Where do we sign?" Because they're all they're worried about is the replacement revenue. And I said, you know what? The politicians have never failed at finding out a way to tax us. They will do that, but we have to stop them from taking our property. And this is the way they get it. And they're going to just keep taxing the crap out of us until we can't afford our property taxes anymore, and they'll take your property. That's the end of the story. It's that simple. So we need to say no more. We're not doing any more. And you gotta go and fight these millages, keep them off your property taxes, and then tell everybody, this can be done. We've proven it. We have the numbers, we have the budget. The only person we're defunding is Gretchen. Because we're taking the money out of her general fund, general purpose bucket. We're sending it down to the counties. We're taking some of her spending out of the state income tax bucket, out of the sales tax bucket. We're sending it down to the townships. Those are taxes we've already paid. And I tell you what, when we eliminate property taxes in the state of Michigan, don't you think our state income tax bucket and our sales tax bucket and our corporate tax buckets, our corporate business tax buckets are going to be overflowing? Because every frickin' business is going to want to come here to Michigan because there's no property tax. And then the people will come back to Michigan because there's no property tax and there's jobs. When that happens, we create more state income tax. We create more corporate business tax. When people have money, they spend it, we create more sales tax. Right? When the people prosper, the state will prosper. That's how it has to go. Yes, ma'am.
How many states do not have?
There's not any. We would be the first. But we are talking to other states, Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Dakota. The governor in Nebraska just stood up and said, I want to reduce property taxes in the state of Nebraska by 40%. Why? Because he doesn't want to experience the mass exodus from his state, like all of these other states are happening, right? Like I said, Governor Whitmer knows this. She formed a committee to find out where everybody was going and why. Then she formed another committee to find out how to get them here. You know what she's going to do? She's going to raise all your taxes. Because we have to pay more, we have to spend more money on roads, more money on schools, more money on social programs to attract people. And then she's going to pay them cash. She wants to give them your dollars to pay people to come back to Michigan And then you know what? Once they get here, we're gonna tax the crap out of them and they're gonna leave again with our $15,000. Does that make any sense? Let's retain the people we have. Let's make housing affordable without building affordable housing. Why are we gonna spend billions of dollars building affordable housing when all we have to do is eliminate property tax? Rent will be affordable. Home ownership will be affordable. What do you get with home ownership? Equity and generational wealth. Two more of those naughty words that the WEF does not want us to have in our vocabulary. They don't want you passing. They don't want a grandparent to pass their house down to their kid or to a grandkid. They don't want that. We need that. They don't want it. We need to take back our state. This is the #1 game changer that can make it, that can help us do it. And it's making a shift. And it's going to force government to reevaluate their budget and maybe get a little bit more real. But I am telling you, it is our job to elect better candidates for every single stinking office. You cannot elect someone because they're nice or because they're nice looking. Don't elect them because it's your neighbor or your relative. If they can't pass a test of if they are going to be good candidates and good politicians, don't vote for them, please, because this is why we're in the mess that we're in. I have been there. Like I said, I've gone to Lansing. I've seen how very little they think of us. There's a few of them that are definitely on our side, and there's a lot of them. We're just a cash cow that pays for their job and their expense account and their office and all of their admin. You know what? Michigan is one of the only states left that has full-time legislature. I've talked to a couple of people about this. That should be our next citizens initiative petition.
Yes.
Is fighting for part-time legislature, because if we got that passed, there would be absolutely no need for property taxes. Absolutely. The savings on part-time legislature would be huge. Huge. We have a budget that our state only brings in $38.5 billion in revenue, and we're spending almost $90 billion. Does anybody think that's a balanced budget? Because that's what I'm being told by some of our senators. I work on the appropriations committee, Karla, and we worked really hard to balance the budget, and I just took them by the shoulders, and I'm like, that's not a balanced budget. That's not balanced. That you just got your hand out to the federal government, which is our federal tax dollars. Michigan is one of the worst states in taking money from the federal government. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. Yes, sir.
So you want 600,000 signatures.
More
Yes.
than that.
Isn't there such a thing that if you go above that, it automatically goes to law?
2 million.
Ooh.
2 million. 2 million.
You gotta have more because some are gonna be
If
bad.
we get 2 million signatures, well, come on, there's 10 million people in Michigan, maybe, give or take. And
How many
the
homes?
Secretary of State says there's 2 million registered voters, something like that. This is a bipartisan. This is basically a nonpartisan issue, right? There's Democrats, there's U.S. taxpayers, libertarians, Tea Party people. We're all losing our homes. We're all losing them. Hold on just a second, yes, sir.
You don't only need signatures when you do the signature. They have to have the exact address on their license. If it is not on there, it gets thrown out.
Right. Yep, there's directions. We'll have directions for everybody on how to fill those out. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, don't they have to be notarized?
Notarized? No. So here's the thing about, I've learned a little bit, and the Board of Canvassers is they're redoing the manual, right? So they've changed it, they've updated it in July of 2023, and they're updated it again in October of 2023. There's this process that they go through, and as I worked on one of the gubernatorial candidates, campaigns, you submit all of these, they don't look at them. They pull some out. They pull a few out, and they look to see how clean is that. You know, like how many, if there's 10 signatures on a page, are all 10 of them good? Okay. Or are half of them bad? Okay. and then they pull out maybe 20 sheets the first time. They look at that and they look at the percentage of errors. If they pull out 20 sheets, that would be times 10 signatures per page, that's 200 signatures. If only 1% of it's bad, they're gonna go, that's pretty good. They might not bother to pull any more samples. So we're gonna be turning in about 120,000 sheets of paper. There's no way they're gonna go through every single one of those pages. But what we did on the gubernatorial candidate campaign that I worked on, as those full sheets came back, and sometimes they weren't full, you could have 1 to 10 signatures on a page, depending on like the counties and all that kind of crap, right? We self-scrubbed them. We went through it and said, oops, somebody put their birth date instead of the date of signing. We crossed that line out. Oops, somebody used purple ink pen. Cross that line out. We went through and self-scrubbed them before we even submitted them to make sure that we had more than what we needed. We actually need like 448,274, whatever the number is. We want 600,000, so we have some leeway, because we know we're gonna be scrubbing them and cleaning them, okay? So it's important that the people that are helping us circulate these petitions, you gotta stand there and watch them sign it. You're supposed to witness. At the bottom, you sign as a circulator saying, I've witnessed all of these people writing this. And you have to, don't be yakking at them while they're signing it, make sure they're paying attention. I don't know how many, the worst offender of all the ones they scrubbed was where people put their birth date instead of the date of the signing. So that immediately crosses, you lose that signature.
Or they put where they live, like Grand Rapids instead of the township.
And they, I think right now, what they did was they went either or. The city or the township. It says city or township. So you can, I could put Georgetown Township, I could put Cannon Township, or I could put my mailing address, which is Rockford. So it's city or township is what they have. That might have been something that they changed because they were having so many issues with it. Yes, sir?
We were doing petitions right here a couple of years ago for something about the vote. What was it called? Do you remember? If not every signature on that page, and they have to be by county, if not every signature, if there was one signature that was wrong, or there was an error on it or something, they were throwing the whole sheet away.
No, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. You can just cross out the one line. You just cross out the one signature, that's wrong.
Well, that's what we need then, from you. We need,
Yep, instructions on how to do that.
Maybe it was a misconception, that's what I thought too.
Yep, yep.
So I work with US term limits, and we've done a lot of petitioning, and I've been to that canvas board, and I know the uphill battle that you face, and thank you for doing that. One of the shenanigans that goes on is they just so people understand.
Start from the beginning, please.
My name is Jeff Tillman. I used to be, I worked for my son who's National Director for US Term Limits. So I'm real familiar with the process that she's talking about. And they will get very underhanded and dirty. The things they'll do are unbelievable. They will have their allies come in and then fake a whole bunch of names. So when they get pulled, that's what they want to do, is they want to goof up the percent that she's talking about. And if you remember, in the last cycle, there were a couple of candidates that hired criminal petitioners that really rigged the game so they came up short. That's the kind of stuff they'll do. And then when you have all your signatures done, exactly what she's talking about, you have to go through a vetting process. And we hire people that go through every signature, and then you mark off one that doesn't pass muster, because you're looking at it through the eyeglasses that they're going to look at and see, okay, because they want to kill it. They want to come up with a percentage to kill it. And so you vet every signature that comes in. You could have a sheet that's 10 and they look great, and you're in a Democrat zone or bureaucrat zone, people that are hired by the state that don't want to see any kind of changes, and they'll start signing multiples, so they goof your numbers up. So you wanna make sure you pay attention and then go through a proper vetting thing. And, it's not impossible, the number is not impossible. You can hire teams also if you get some funding to, help with that. That's all I got.
Thank you for that. I kind of said right away, and I understand that, I just think if we have to pay signature gatherers, then you guys don't want this bad enough. You're happy paying property taxes, so be it. Cause I'm like, I'm not gonna pay to get, I have to rely on you. I have to rely on every single one of you, and I need to know who you are. We're gonna keep these things kind of close to our chest. We do have to get them out as much as we can. But like he said, there's gonna be people out there. What we've decided to do, and I think part of this is the Board of Canvassers, you now have to have the petitions, the printer that is printing your petitions has to sign an affidavit and has to fill it out. We're not gonna be able to just have any Tom, Dick, and Harry print these things off. They won't allow that anymore. Which is something that I kind of sort of agree with, because as he said, there's gonna be nefarious characters out there that want to like try to turn in bad signatures or bad pages. If we stick with one printer and get them printed off, and we know the quality of the paper, we know the font, we know everything about them, it's gonna be much harder for us to get duped, because we will be the only ones that are gonna be able to turn them in. It's not like they can't run them down to the Board of Canvassers, they can't run them down to the Secretary of State. The only way they're gonna be able to submit them is through us. And we're gonna be watching it pretty darn close, because like I said, I think, folks, to be honest with you, this is a make or break. If we don't get this passed in 2024, when it's during a presidential election, when you all know how bad things are already getting, the shit has hit the fan and it's being circulated many times. If we don't do it this year, we'll not have this opportunity again. Because as I said, Michigan is already a state, 30% of renters. Renters love to vote on millages because they don't think they affect them. They just don't. Young people are I was just at the Stand Up Michigan Leadership Conference last weekend or whenever it was. I was there to talk to people about helping us circulate, because Stand Up Michigan did a whale of a job with one of the other things, and we need an army of that kind of people, right? The whole conference, all they talked about was the unaffordability of living space. That's it. That was the economics and the unaffordability of living space. The young people, there was a couple of young people there, and they're like, yeah, we got our college and we're living with our parents. We had elderly people there going, yeah, my 38-year-old son and his wife just moved back in with us. So we can make housing affordable without paying to make housing affordable, without paying to make affordable housing. This is our future. This is our state. And if we don't fix this now, it's on a runaway train. And I don't think we'll have this opportunity again. This is the perfect storm. This is the perfect storm, and we have to take advantage of it. And we have to say, no more, give them the middle finger, we're not doing it anymore, the cash cow is dried up, leave us alone, go home, go away. Leave us our land, because that is the most important thing. People should not be forced to sell something that they own. And sometimes when it goes through foreclosure, you know this, right? You might have a property that's worth $400,000. And if you owe $15,000 in back taxes, if the county or the state, the unit, whatever, the unit of government that is foreclosing on you, they might say, hey, we'll sell it for $100,000, we don't care. And you get a little bit. You get a little bit after a whole life's worth of savings and building and equity. You'll walk away with nothing or a little bit. That's it. Because they don't care. They don't care about you.
I have a question about the petitions.
Yes.
So you don't have them today.
I don't have them today.
I know you're
Like,
gonna
I'm
get
ready to-
me some, but how can
Yeah,
other
sure.
people get copies?
Sign up on that volunteer sheet, and if you want to help circulate petitions, I need your address on it too, so I can either get them to you, or I'll either mail them out, or I'm gonna send them to people in the area and say, you know, hey, Amber's gonna have, I just sent Amber 100 signatures, and Amber will contact you. I'll give Amber your name, she'll know how to contact you, or put it out there, whatever. So, yeah, we've got quite a list of county captains and everything going on here, so, yes, ma'am, back there.
In regards to this, does the person have to have the ability to vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The person that signs it has to be a registered voter, and the circulator, I think, has to be a registered voter as well.
Did you say they need the address on here? 'Cause
On that one, yes, because if I'm gonna mail them petitions, I need their address to mail them petitions.
For an idea, could a person use like a convenience store to get signatures? Because there's a lot of people that come in there.
You can, but you have to witness every signature, so that means you have someone, and I wouldn't leave it up to the convenience store cashier.
Okay.
I mean, because this it is critical. And number one, you gotta make sure they're a resident of Michigan. Number two, you better check to make sure they're registered to vote, right? Number three, somebody's supposed to be witnessing their signature. So it's, could you leave it at some businesses, like maybe a Farm Bureau or, you know, State Farm or something like that? You might be able to leave it there where they have a receptionist sitting right there. But they've gotta be able to ask those questions. Can I see your driver's license? Do you have your voter registration card on you?
Okay.
Is this your address? You know, we gotta be able to watch that.
Why can't you go to the township clerk and get a list of names of the rest of the voters? I know my township clerk. And there's 1,700 voters.
Yep.
13 plus.
Well, then you, yeah, and the thing is, and yeah, the thing is, it's very difficult to get very many signatures if you have to go door knocking for them. What you wanna do is come to a place like Jimmy's, look at how many, right? You come to a place like this, and if Jimmy would allow you to sit in the corner and say, hey, come here and sign to get rid of property taxes, you gotta go where people are gonna come to you.
Go to church.
Right? You
Take 'em to
can't
church.
go. You know what? And I'm trying to get in front of the churches. I've tried many times to have a pastor. I don't want to preach from a pulpit. But I'm like, let's do a soup supper and I'll come and do this presentation, because why? The ministers don't want it. They're like, well, we don't get into politics. And I said, well, politics are happening to you every day. The politicians are making decisions that are affecting your way of life. My son, like I said, sends 5 kids to Christian school, and he still has to pay for public school, right? And the public schools are the reason why he's sending his kids to Christian school.
Right.
And yet he has to support both. The same thing with the libraries. I think there's probably a lot of people that go to church that don't want to support their local library because of the garbage, because of the books that are in them. Yes, ma'am.
Is the wording here, is that from your November?
No, that just tells, this one
This,
was,
yes.
that one was, but that's not the November one.
Okay.
So these are old rat cards
Okay.
already. The cards, the language that's on the back of those cards is not, because again, we print rat cards out thinking that, okay, this is the one they approved in November, and if we bring it back to them in December, she's gonna approve it, because we're gonna give her the whole petition, and then they didn't have us come to the meeting, and by the time we went back, we had printed rat cards, and then they changed the 100-word summary again. So these are just all games they're playing.
Well, we could all go to our churches. I could talk at my
Good
church.
save.
I did that before.
And I'm looking for any, I pretty much go anywhere to talk.
You could talk at your church before proposals 1, 2, 3. When they had announcements, I talk about it and I said, here's some information. So I said, I'm not telling you how to vote, but you need to be aware, you need to go, you need to vote. So we could do that.
It's really an educational process. I was wrong. I mean, people aren't dumber than a box of rocks. We're uneducated and misinformed. And we're trusting the people that we elected to look after us, and they're not. So I love to, I don't like to speak, but I do think we need to educate people. So this is one of I have a very small group of people. I pretty much do most of the presentations, almost probably 95% of them. None of us get paid. We're all doing this because we believe in it, and we believe in you guys, and we know this is the only way we're gonna save ourselves and our state, right? We have to do this. So what we're asking for, we need signatures, we need signature gatherers, we need funding to help us print the petitions, We're probably gonna need funding for some advertising because they're gonna come out against us. We're gonna have to negate what they're saying. And we're gonna probably have some attorney fees, other than the property tax attorney that we currently pay to help us with this. We're probably gonna get hit up with some attorney fees. So you can go to the website, AX, it's now just AX. We had to drop the E because we had to form another entity. Because as soon as you get into we're gonna try to sway people's vote stage, that means we have to get into a different, we had to be a different entity for that. So you can go to axmitax.org and you can sign up to volunteer there. You can donate there. Go and talk to everybody. Get your small businesses out here. They're getting hit really hard with property taxes as well. Go and say something to them like, hey, can we leave these rat cards here? Go and talk to them about it so the owner of those small businesses, small, medium, large businesses know that this is coming up. Just a couple of things I want to leave you with. Thank you so much for listening to me and your patience and everything like this. Here's another reason why we need to protect our dollars, okay? The Democrats went on a huge spending spree. Why? Because they want to empty out all of the buckets so they can tell us, they can prove to us they need more money, right? So we all just spent $500,000 on a hip hop academy in Detroit. We spent $1 million on a splash pad in Ann Arbor. We spent $2.5 million on a third curling facility in Grand Traverse. We spent $1 million on an equestrian center in Detroit. We're spending $20 million to improve Greektown for Detroit. We are, let me see, I don't know if you can't remember. Oh, $500,000 for an electric boat charging station. Now, boating, I didn't think electric and water ever mixed, but the government's going to tell us different, right? This is where some of your money's going, folks. Now, if the money stayed in your pocket, could you send your kid to community college without, what does Governor Whitmer want to do? She wants to make community free for everybody on your dime.
Professor Potato.
But if you had your money, you could pay off your credit card debt, you could pay off your truck payment, you could send your own kid to college, right? And you're not paying for other people, you're just paying for your own. That's what we need to be doing. Anybody else have a couple more questions? Yes, right back there. Chris?
I just want to pray, if I can do that. Thank you. Is somebody like to do a closing prayer? I'd love to pray over you.
If you, you know what? I think we have just a couple more questions, and then please, yes. Somebody over here had a question.
I was just gonna add to the list of expenses, the electric buses, there's gonna be.
Oh my God. I didn't even go there. I mean, I tell you folks, that there is so much crap coming down. I mean, what did they just do? Here's another reason why we have to maintain private ownership of our land. They're just trying to pass a bill right now that the state is going to make the decision on where the solar farms and wind farms go. The state, they did pass it, thank you. And there's a petition that's gonna be out there called Citizens for Land Choice. And they're gonna try to fight that. But this is why we have to maintain private ownership of our land. Here's what's happening to farmers. I talked to a farmer down in Washington. Over many, many years and a couple of generations of farmers, they've accumulated 3,000 acres of farmland, okay? But he said they pay more in 1 year in property taxes than what it costs them to accumulate those 3,000 acres. And here's what he said to me. He goes, Karla, who in the heck am I going to sell my land to? He goes, because nobody's going to be able to afford the property tax. Because he's been buying that land for so many years and it stayed in the family for so long, we know that as soon as he sells it, the cap comes off, right? What's the value of 3,000 acres? So guess who's talking to him? The state. Why? Because they want to put a solar farm. Well, who supports the solar farms? Where does that money come from? You, me, us, the taxpayers. We pay for the state solar farms, we pay for the wind turbine farms. So the state can go to that farmer when he has no other option. He can't even afford to give it to his kids or pass it down to the next generation. Because you can't make enough money in farming to pay those god-awful property taxes. That's true. Right? So their only option is to lease it or sell it to a solar farm or a wind turbine farm because that's backed by us, our dollars. And the government, we know, will spend any amount of our dollars to buy that, and then guess what? Do you think they're going to collect property tax on that? Government doesn't pay property tax. No. Government doesn't pay property tax. So they're going to force him to sell it because he can't afford the property tax. They're going to buy it from him. because he can't afford to sell it to anybody else. And then there's no more property tax paid on that land. This is the deception that we need to open our eyes wide to. Go ahead.
I just sold some farmland, finally found a guy that buy it. I got a phone call from the place that wants to put windmills and solar panels on it. Not too late, dude. I got rid of it.
But they are seriously courting the farmers. They seriously are going there and hammering them. And look at, like, in Mecosta County for that Goshen plant, what was that? How many farm acres? Up in Onaway, Presqu'Île, it will have the largest solar farm on it. And the guy that called me up there, farmer, he's a beef cattle farmer, and he said, Karla, he goes, that is the most wonderfully productive agricultural land in the state. And it's now gonna grow solar panels. It's gotta be good if it can grow metal solar panels, right?
Yes.
Sir?
You mentioned before about Marshall and Green Township, but here's the other thing they're wasting our tax dollars on, taking our tax dollars and buying our property and giving it to the Chinese.
Yes, thank you. One more question and then Chris is gonna pray and then we gotta wrap it up because Jimmy's gotta do business.
So on your website, can we find all of the things that you've showed us today? Like your tax, the way the state's funds are used, that chart?
No, but you know what? If you go to House Fiscal Agency Budget Poster 2022, you can find it. You can download it right on your phone. That's the fiscal agency thing.
I took a picture of it today. Take a picture on your phone, then you have it.
Yeah, it's just a great way to show the cash flow. But the hard thing is, like, I've brought my property tax things here, but every township, property taxes are so different. I don't think you could find two houses if they were both equal $300,000 houses. You won't find two houses in the state of Michigan that pay the same property tax. It's so awful.
How can we donate to your cause? Do we have to
AskMyTax.org.
Do we have to file campaign finance, or can we give you cash? Like, how do you?
We're not allowed to take cash if it's over $20. We're not allowed to take cash because we do have to report this to campaign finance. So if you can write a check, or you can go online and donate online. That's the best way to do it. Chris, you're gonna give us a prayer real quick?
I've got a couple of housekeeping things, but I'll make it quick
Yeah,
when she's
I need
done.
all of this kind of stuff back, please.
Lord Jesus, there is no doubt that this is a spiritual battle. Lord, I thank you so much for Karla Wagner, for her stepping up, Lord, boldly and courageously. Lord, I pray that the people of Michigan will have their eyes opened, that they would get off their comfy couches, Lord, that the churches would rise up and see that they need to enter this battle. It is a spiritual battle. Lord, I pray that you would send out this army, Lord, that you would equip the people of Michigan to fight this battle. It is a battle of good versus evil, Lord, and we know that you win. Lord, I thank you for Karla. I thank you for the words that she has shared with her, Lord. I pray that you would multiply these loaves and fishes today, that we would go out and just share this, that we, the people, Lord, it is a biblical concept. It is from our founding fathers, we the people, Lord, raise up your army. We need you. We repent of our complacency. We repent of the brainwashing. Lord, we want to take back our land, that it is a gift from you. We thank you, Lord, for this time today. We thank you for Jimmy. We thank you for Teresa, for all those who stand, Lord, on our behalf. And I just ask that you would embolden us and give us courage, Lord, as we go forward to fight. Give us energy, give us finances, give Karla strength and health, and bless her. Give us all your favor, give her your favor, and Jimmy and all these standing on the front lines. I pray in Jesus' precious name, amen.
Amen.
So really quick, I'm just gonna, couple housekeeping things. We need all the graphics back up here for Karla so she can use them for the other presentations that she's doing all over the state. She has these books here, the Ask My Tax books, and Jeff Tillman has generously donated money to buy all these books. So if you would like one of these books, I'm assuming that's what you would like, Jeff. If you would like one of these books, please come and grab one and give Jeff Tillman a big thank you.
Thank you.
And she does have these little cards up here. It, obviously, she said the language isn't exact anymore, but it, you know, at least it's a talking point. So if you're talking to somebody about this petition, you can have some information. And then, just as, you know, I've got to plug Newaygo County Grassroots. So if you've never been to one of our meetings, this card right here has our mission statement on the back, so it kind of explains what we're about. We'd love to see you at our next meeting, which is February 12th, at the Fremont Library. We do pizza at 5:30, meeting starts at 6. We have these little cards right here that have our schedule on the back, so, and we will be doing our June meeting here. We will be doing our June meeting here at Jimmy's, so that'll be a fun one to attend. But we've been working on bringing our Senate candidates to our meeting, so we've already had Doc Sherry, we've had Mike Hoover. February 12th, we'll have Alexandria Taylor, and actually, we just got told that Diane Schindelbeck is hosting Sandy Pensler today at Shindy's over on Diamond Lake from 1 to 3. She'll have free pizza. But I would encourage you guys to stay and have some lunch with Jimmy, because he's graciously opened us up today. So thank you guys for coming. We appreciate you all.
Thank you guys. Hopefully we all learned something. Go to Axe, Michigan Tax, and find out more.
Thank you for coming, Brian.